night has long been a beloved tradition in Boston, but this year there will be disruptions as final preparations are underway for all the performances, ice sculptures, fireworks, and fun. Protests and a so-called die-in are being planned as well, similar to those that have been held across the country in recent weeks. Earlier today, Boston Mayor Marty Walsh, Police Commissioner Bill Evans, and other officials spoke about those plans. And as WGBH News reporter Ann Mostue tells us, they're prepared, but they also have a message for protesters.
Police are expecting a couple hundred people to turn out for a so-called die-in in Copley Square tomorrow night, just before the first night parade steps off. Boston Mayor Marty Walsh says the demonstration will be allowed, so long as it remains civil.
And as mayor, I ask everyone who comes out tomorrow, respect our police officers, respect their roles as keepers of peace in our city.
Cities across the country are preparing for continued protests in response to recent police-involved deaths in Ferguson, Missouri, and New York City. In Boston, Police Commissioner Bill Evans says his force is prepared, but he urged protesters to remember, First Night is a family event.
We respect their right to protest, but I've done this event for the last 25 years. I brought my own kids into this event, my wife has. And if you walk down there, there's all 2-, 3-, 4-year-olds there. And I don't think they should have to see behavior that they have nothing to do with.
Organizers are encouraging people across the state to come out and enjoy the first night performances and exhibits. And many people we spoke to say they won't be deterred by the prospect of protests.
This will be our third time coming into the city. Sometimes we do family parties, but this year we thought it'd be nice just to be in the city and remember Mayor Menino.
We're going to be here for the first night, coming in from Miami, Florida, so we figured we'd get away from the warm weather and enjoy a nice chilly night in Boston.
But not everyone feels that way. Gary Shaw of Boston says he left the Christmas tree lighting ceremony on the Boston Common early because of protesters.
It completely takes away from the event. You know, people want to come into town, they want to bring their kids, they want to have a good time with the family, and it just completely ruins it.
And Jared, it's really a very festive atmosphere right now in Copley Square. I think people are actually more concerned about the cold weather than they are about any sort of protest.
So at the press conference today, did police officials indicate that there are any concerns about specific threats tomorrow night?
They did address the question of threats directly, yes. They said that their intelligence unit is paying attention, but they do not anticipate any threats at all.
And given everything that's happened, especially with the police department in New York over the last couple of weeks, are there concerns about tensions within the ranks, especially as they're out tomorrow night?
I think there are, and I think that was part of the reason they addressed these things. I mean, this is a press conference they have every year to talk about safety and logistics around First Night. So this was not held in response to the protest. But I think that they are trying to be accepting and welcoming of free speech in Copley Square on First Night, but also extending olive branches. I know that Commissioner Evans attended a vigil last night with protesters. Mayor Walsh says he's been emailing with protesters. I don't know what their serious concerns are with tomorrow, aside from just crowds and interference with the parade.
All right, well, Ann Mostue, I know you'll continue to cover this for us for WGBH Radio. Thank you so much for your report.
Thanks, Jared.
All right, well, despite today's warnings from officials, protest organizers are not backing down. And joining me now are two members of the group First Night Against Police Violence, Brenden Larosa and Martin Henson. Excuse me. Welcome to you both. So first of all, explain to me what the intention, we'll start with you, Brenden, of what tomorrow's protest is. What's the mission, essentially?
All right, well, the mission is we really want to raise awareness on the fact, because Marty Walsh and Commissioner Evans, they keep reiterating that Boston is not Ferguson, that this doesn't happen here. We want to raise awareness that even though there's not anyone being killed at this moment, this does happen here. Last year, in 2013, there was someone killed in December, unarmed by police. It went that it was justified. The year before that, in 2012, there was someone killed in April. And then in 2011, there was another unarmed black man killed. So we're trying to show the fact that it does happen here, because, and it's not just the murders, it's the mass incarceration, the fact that they're putting more money into prisons than they are into schools, that they're already establishing that these kids are going to end up in prison, and they're preparing them for prison before they're preparing them for school, and that the stop and frisk happens in New York, that they're targeting low-income neighborhoods, which are mainly black, Latino, and 87% of the people stopped were black or Latino. But right over there around the corner on Wall Street, you got all these rich bankers pocketing money doing cocaine, and that there is crime over there, but it's institutionalized racism that they're targeting minorities.
Well, Martin, let me bring you in here. How is the die-in that you're going to stage tomorrow night get at those issues which Brenden just articulated?
Well, Brenden brought up a lot of good points. This is a family event. And because it's a family event, your family gets to witness the state of America that it's in. And if by laying out in the middle of the street and prostrating myself like that can get you to be more aware of this issue and start those conversations with your, with your daughter, or with your family members, with your grandparents, with your brothers, your sisters, then I'm willing to do that.
Well, I understand, of course, always the mission of a protest is to provoke, but when you hear parents out there saying, we are bringing our young kids here, maybe too young to understand at this point, a world affairs issue like this, how do you answer those parents who may be tempted to not even show up to first night tomorrow night now?
Mike Brown laid in the street for 4 hours. Do you think there were kids that saw that? Yeah. I don't hear any conversation about that. So if we can do it in a safe place, in a safe way, to start a conversation so nobody has to be abused unnecessarily, then I'm willing to do that.
How do you expect this to go tomorrow night? I mean, I've spoken with Commissioner Evans already on the radio a couple of weeks ago, and they are at pains to make sure that their police force does keep very measured, doesn't get into major conflict, so that there are not major outbursts and conflicts with protesters. Do you expect it to remain that calm?
Yeah, our goal is not to, we don't look at the police as the problem. We're not out there in conflict with the police. We look at them as an obstacle. The system puts them there to try to distract us, to try to put our efforts towards them. We know the underlying problem is the system, the judicial system and the law enforcement system. That's the problem. We're not out there with any plans to cause any disruption. We don't want any confrontation with police. We're simply there to raise awareness. We want to talk to people. If people that are on the fence that are there and they don't know where they stand, come and talk to us. This is a friendly environment. We're there for first night events just like they are. We want to bring in the new year in a positive way, and that's why we're out there.
If your issue is more with the Justice Department and higher levels, but it happens on the ground, are you worried about a public that conflates the issue?
Yeah, well, see, the main thing is that a lot of people think it is the police because the police are the ones doing the murders. But that's not what it is, because the system is holding them to certain quotas. The system is allowing them to do these actions. They're allowing them to kill unarmed black men and get away with it. So with that being said, it's not the police. It is just the system.
Yeah, I mean, there's got to be a sensitivity about staging something like this now, given the 2 police officers who were just killed in New York City.
Sensitivity? It seems like we pick and choose when we're going to talk about what's sensitive and what's not. Right now we live in a system where a police officer can walk up to me, shoot me. And if he makes the accusation that I jumped or I seemed threatening in any way, then he's not going to jail and it's not going to be considered murder. That's very insensitive to me. I just want it to be an equal environment for everyone.
As a young black man, do you feel that that's the case, that you always face that possibility in this city at this point?
Yeah, I can walk down a dark street, and not just for the police, because of the racial climate that has been built in America for a long time. I walk down a dark street. If somebody's walking in front of me, I have to cross the other side, because I don't want them to think that I'm a thief. I don't want them to think that I'm threatening. So I'm doing this in a very positive way, and I'm coming out with people like Brenden and a group of concerned individuals who are willing to talk about it and willing to do what it takes to get that conversation going, to build a greater consciousness.
You know, it's interesting that the movie Selma is opening on New Year's Day, and a lot of people are saying, oh, the timing is so interesting given what's going on in world affairs. I keep saying, no, this has been happening throughout generations, throughout the decades since Martin Luther King led this march. But do you feel that you have the people behind you that Martin Luther King had, that you have this sustained momentum and energy behind it that he had?
Honestly, I think that it might not be as focused on as it was through the media's eyes as it was back then, but I think we may have, or getting towards having more power at the time. We might not have that great leader, so we don't have that sense of power, but we have more people. There was never this many white people involved who care this much about black lives. Never in a million years. And now that we have that, it shows that so many people are caring now, and that's what it takes. It takes the white people of the same economic standing as the white people who don't agree with it to spark an interest in their mind. They're like, all right, well, this person is the same as me. Why do I feel this way and he feels this way? We live exactly the same. And that's why we need white people out there, because it sparks conversation amongst other white people, and it wants to bring them in, because when they see black people advocating about this, they just think, oh, just another black issue, you know what I mean? But when white people are involved, that's what really sparks their interest.
Well, Brenden, Larosa, Martin Henson, thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you.